All right, diving right in. This time we're taking a crack at Alfred Hitchcock. Shadow of a Doubt, am I right?
A classic, and for good reason.
You guys sent over a ton of stuff on this one. Articles, Wikipedia, even some YouTube essay about where they filmed it.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going deeper than just the surface level here. You want to get under the hood of this film.
It's a classic for a reason, yeah.
Exactly. Unpack the themes, the symbolism, all that good Hitchcock stuff. What makes this movie stick with you? Decades later, people are still talking about it. Let's figure it out.
Well, one of the first things that hits you
Yeah.
is how Hitchcock takes this, postcard version of small-town America.
And completely flips it on its head.
Exactly. Like, he took a Norman Rockwell and added a little something to the paint.
Yeah. A little dose of something sinister. You got the picturesque Santa Rosa, those perfect tree-lined streets.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows their neighbors.
And that's the thing, right? It's almost too perfect.
Way too perfect.
When Hitchcock knew that, he chose Santa Rosa for that reason. It's this idyllic facade that makes you let your guard down, and then, bam, he pulls the rug out.
It's like that very first shot, right?
Yeah.
The train arriving, all sunshine and roses, but then that black smoke billowing from the engine.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
It's like a warning, right?
Foreshadowing. And we're about to meet Uncle Charlie. That smoke's practically a shadow falling over the whole town.
Speaking of Uncle Charlie,
Oh.
that dinner scene, you know, the one where he goes off on that rant, the widows, the money.
Oh, that scene gives me chills every time.
He's talking about these women like they're less than human. That line, fat, wheezing animals, just awful.
Hitchcock knows how to build tension. Pay attention to the sound in that scene. Everyone else fades into the background, and it's just his voice. Pure venom.
And the way the camera zooms in on Joseph Cotton's face, you can practically see the wheels turning.
A brilliant performance, and your thought on the misogyny is right there on the surface. But it also shows you something deeper about Uncle Charlie. This darkness, this hatred for anyone he sees as weak. Remember, this is a film about how love and good order, those things don't protect you from evil.
Which leads us right to the title. Shadow of a Doubt. It's not just about did he or didn't he, right? It's about the doubt itself, that suspicion that worms its way into everything, every relationship.
It's everywhere, even in this seemingly perfect town. Don't forget about young Charlie's dad and that whole thing with the neighbor Herb.
Oh, right. They're both obsessed with...
About true crime.
Right. Trading murder stories like baseball cards. It's
Yeah.
almost funny how they try to top each other. Oh, here's the perfect way to commit murder.
And they're completely missing the real danger right in front of their faces. Hitchcock's way of showing us how messed up people can be.
Even normal people, right. Makes you wonder what's going on in the heads of everyone you know.
Exactly. Everyone's got secrets. And that brings us to, I think, the most important character. Teresa Wright as young Charlie. She's not just along for the ride in this film, is she?
Not at all. She might be the most complex character in the whole thing. She's the one who starts to suspect Uncle Charlie.
And she's the one who ultimately has to take action. You know, Hitchcock gets labeled with that misogynistic thing. But often, it's the women in his films who are the smartest ones in the room.
You're right. Young Charlie is sharp. She picks up on these little things about her uncle, these slip-ups, and no one else notices. It's her intuition that unravels the whole thing.
She wants to believe in him, but there's that doubt, right? That instinct that something's not right.
And Hitchcock plays on that so well with how he uses the house itself, all those cramped hallways, the shadows, those staircases.
Man.
They're like their own character closing in on her as she gets closer and closer to the truth.
That feeling of being watched, hunted even, Hitchcock,
Right.
He just nails it. And you got to remember, this is 1943, right? Middle of World War II.
Wow, yeah. I hadn't thought about that. How'd audiences back then even handle this? They're already living through a nightmare.
Right. Imagine that anxiety. Spies, bombs, the enemy could be anyone. That fear you're not safe, even at home. Hitchcock, he tapped right into that.
It's like that saying, the call is coming from inside the house. Ugh, chills. You think you're safe, surrounded by family, but...
But are you? And Hitchcock, he sprinkles these little reminders of the war throughout the film. You'll hear newsreels, people talking about rations. It just adds to that feeling that something's not right.
Speaking of not right, that scene in the garage, when Uncle Charlie tries to kill young Charlie. Trapped in the car, oh my God.
Textbook Hitchcock. Suspense. He doesn't need the blood and guts, you know? He builds that tension slow, deliberate. The sound design, the camera angles. Teresa Wright sells it too. Pure dread.
The engine, that low hum.
Yeah.
And her face. You can see the realization dawning on her, just terrifying.
See, that's the brilliance of it. What we don't see is scarier than anything he could show us. Our imaginations take over.
It's not all doom and gloom, though, is it? There's some humor sprinkled in there, too. Dark humor, sure, but still.
Oh, absolutely. Those detectives, they're supposed to be, what, survey takers? Just a cover to get inside people's homes?
Right.
And their little routines, it's a nice break from all the intensity.
And you can't forget those conversations. Young Charlie's dad and Herb, the neighbor, so wrapped up in their murder fantasies, they miss the real thing happening right next door.
Classic Hitchcock. Dark, a little twisted, but it works. He's showing us the absurdity of it all, right? The good and the bad all mixed up together. But we should talk about that ending. It sticks with you.
Yeah, not your typical Hollywood happy ending, that's for sure.
Not at all. Uncle Charlie dies, but it's unsatisfying. Like there's no justice. Falls from a train, they call it an accident. Everyone just goes back to pretending everything's fine. He even gets a hero's funeral.
It's like Hitchcock saying, sometimes the bad guy wins. Or maybe the bad never really goes away, even in death.
And that last shot, young Charlie sitting there on the church steps, she's safe, but there's a sadness in her eyes.
She's not that innocent girl anymore. She's seen too much.
She says it herself. I'm glad you were able to come, Jack. I couldn't have faced it without someone who knew. That line. She knows, you know. She carries it with her. That darkness, that betrayal. Even the people we love can be capable of awful things.
Growing up means realizing the world isn't what we thought it was. And sometimes that hurts a lot. It's like coming of age, but also like totally messed up. And those two Charlies, right? Like looking in a mirror, but distorted.
Exactly. Hitchcock, he sets it up so well. You've got Uncle Charlie, all charm and sophistication on the surface, but underneath, dot rotten. And then young Charlie, at first, she's all innocence, but then you see her changing.
Like they're two sides of the same person, almost.
Yeah.
Battling it out. And all those doubles, those reflections, it's everywhere in the film. It's got to be more than just like visual flair.
Oh, it's totally intentional. Those scenes where she catches her reflection, that look in her eyes, doubt creeping in, or when Uncle Charlie's practically melting into the shadows. It's like he becomes the darkness. Hitchcock's using that stuff to tell you, hey, things ain't always what they seem.
Like we've all got that dark side, you know, that shadow self. And sometimes it comes out. That's what makes this film more than just, ooh, scary. It's about what people are capable of. The bad stuff hiding in plain sight. That's got to resonate even more today, right?
Totally. I mean, think about it. We're drowning in information, images, but it's getting harder to tell what's real. And, shadow of a doubt, family secrets, that feeling like something's wrong even when you're home. It hits different now.
Makes you look twice at everyone, you know?
Yeah.
Wonder what they're hiding. Definitely one of those films that stick with you.
That's the sign of something great, right? Art that challenges you, makes you uncomfortable, makes you think about the stuff we don't want to admit about ourselves, about the world.
This has been a lot to process, in a good way.
We went deep into Hitchcock's head, into that whole world he creates. The symbolism, the suspense. Shadow of a doubt, it's a masterpiece for a reason.
But like always, with these deep dives, we only scratch the surface. More to uncover, more to talk about. So here's a little something to think about. We've been talking about Uncle Charlie, the darkness and all that. But Hitchcock loved that whole duality thing, right? What if? What if we got young Charlie all wrong? What if she's the one in control this whole time? Maybe it's a stretch, but those seeds of doubt, they're there. Hitchcock wants us to wonder. Something to chew on until next time.